Super Bowl week. Always so fun, especially out here in San Francisco. First take coming to you from the Fort Mason Center. So this just in a short story in the New York Daily News, Manish Mehta says that Colin Kaepernick wants out of San Francisco and his preferred destination, New York, but not the Giants, the New York Jets. Kaepernick has 5 years left on a 6-year, $114 million extension that he signed with the Niners. Stephen A., what's your take on this story, Cap and Gangrene?
My take is I don't like it. I mean, I like Colin Kaepernick. I think he can play. I think that he has tremendous upside, and I think in an environment like New York, he could potentially excel. The problem is you'd be having to risk alienate Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's accustomed to playing with his offensive coordinator, Gelly, who's mastered the system, who's gained the confidence of his teammates because of what he was able to do on the football field this year. And here's the reality. This subject is really about Colin Kaepernick. And here's why it's so important. Well, forgive me, I said Cam Newton. I'm at the Super Bowl, ain't I? You know, I mean, so I'm sorry, excuse me.
We knew what you meant.
Colin Kaepernick. Here's the problem. Colin Kaepernick isn't the most accurate passer in the world, but there's no doubt in my mind he can be productive and he can get it done. The problem with Kaepernick is his attitude. And what I mean by that is that when you're playing that quarterback position, you need to be an individual that the troops around you want to play for, not just with. Everybody else you can play with. Yep. But the quarterback is somebody you need to play for, because the quarterback is basically the coach on the football field. He's pulling all the strings. And if you don't want to follow him, you're not a real team. This is why when we talk about Manziel and all that stuff, we'll get into all of that later. There's so many questions and there's so many strong opinions about him. Because if you're not playing the quarterback position, there are things that we could gloss over and tolerate. But because of how important the quarterback position is, the responsibilities, the onus placed on your shoulders are more significant than it is on any other position on a football field. So if you are an individual that people are questioning your attitude, your willingness to go all out, you know, your commitment to excellence, your attitude as it pertains to, do you really care about the next man and uplifting him? That's not a responsibility that seems fair to place on one individual when we're talking about a professional sports team. But unquestionably, it applies to the quarterback position. You got to be somebody that inspires dudes to play with you and for you. And if you're not that guy, and you're just another player that wears the same uniform as those guys, you cannot be the quarterback for that team. Because when you're the quarterback for that team is destined to be average at best because you don't lead. It's the one position on a football field that literally requires you to be a leader of men. Tell me one great team with a great quarterback where the players don't sit there and talk about that man right there. It's Cam this year. It's always been Peyton. It's always been Brady. It's always been Drew Brees. But every single time we've had questions about a team, it's usually questions about their quarterback. Yep. And that is inescapable. And that is the problem that we have with Colin Kaepernick right now. We don't know what we're getting with the personality that is Colin Kaepernick more so than his skills.
All right. So it's interesting. You brought up Cam. You and I both had issues with him in the past when they were losing, and he seemed to separate himself from the losing, sit on the end of the bench, put the towel over his head, and act like, I don't want to associate with that mess over there. Once they turned the corner and broke through, there's not a better leader in the National Football League than Cam Newton has turned into. He plays with such authentic, believable joy. Everything. He celebrates with pure, authentic joy. Everything. His teammate, they feed off his joy for playing. When Kaepernick was winning under Harbaugh, he seemed so unhappy with winning. He seemed to have a chip on his shoulder. He seemed sour and dour when he was winning, where he wasn't comfortable with his situation. And I was told that incident he had with a teammate 2 years ago, some was written about it, but it led to the beginning of the end of him losing this football team. I believe in the end he lost this whole locker room. So he needs to start over. I'm not saying he couldn't start fresh. Now, is New York, that's probably his preferred destination. I'm a big Bryce Petty fan. I told you that going into that
I like
draft.
Bryce Petty.
And we have no idea what he can do in pro football because he hasn't gotten any chance yet. But I know they are developing him, and they do like him for the long term. I don't know if you have you given up on Geno yet? I wasn't the biggest fan going into his draft.
I'm Ryan Fitzpatrick to Bryce Petty. To me, Geno, look, man. You're the quarterback, and you find yourself in the face of a 250-pound linebacker that you owe money to, you a new fool.
Yeah.
I can't trust you.
I hear you.
I can't trust you. I just can't trust you.
I agree. So in the end, I'm not sure this is the best destination for him, but I do want to see Colin get a second shot in this league at a place where he can prove that he can win a locker room and lead a football
That's
team.
absolutely correct. And the last part is this. In the end, before the injuries and all of this other stuff, here's what it comes down to in the eyes of the viewing public, meaning other NFL teams. You lost your job to Blaine Gabbert. Really? I mean, and look, man, look. You ain't lose your job. You ain't lose your job. So you lost it to Blaine Gabbert. Now, I don't know. I'm not the aficionado that our very own Chris Carter is. Yep. All right? But Chris Carter religiously could not stop saying every day. You could give Keyshawn gave analysis. Tom Jackson gave analysis. Mark Schlereth and Trent Dilfer and everybody. And then Chris Carter would come in at the end and say, Blaine Gabbert stinks. That's all he would say. And that's who Colin Kaepernick lost his job to.
I'm not giving him a pass for this. I think he lost his team, not his job. He didn't get beaten out. He lost his locker room. And after a while, you just have to go.
And I'm responding to you by saying, you tell me one quarterback in history who lost a locker room and recovered from that.
Yeah,
I don't know of any. You don't lose. It's one thing to lose your locker room because they look at you and they say, damn, you just can't play. We love you, but you just can't play. No, he lost his locker room because of attitude. Unless he goes to some shrink and gets that addressed, whatever personality disorder he might have, and I'm not saying he does, but I'm just speaking facetiously. But whatever it is, unless he gets that addressed, I don't know how you can overcome losing a locker room due to your attitude. Because if Blaine Gabbert stinks, that means your attitude was even worse.
Agreed.
Regardless of that, we hope to see the 2014 Colin Kaepernick again, who set career highs in passing, rushing,
that depends
just about
on his
everything.
attitude.
It does.
Got a bad attitude, we don't hope to see him again.
Well, if all comes full circle. All right. After the break, we take the show to the people. We're going to Mollywood. First take on the road from Super